Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SKTV. Welcome to today's edition. As you are all aware, we are in conversation here with Mr. Alexander B. Cummings today, the standard bearer of both the ANC and the CPP at large. We want to welcome each and every one of you. And we'll turn it over to Sekou. Sekou, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing fine. I'm doing very good. I'm just tired, but I have to make this interview by all means.
Wonderful. Well, it's good to have you. Good to see you back. Uh, would like to ask our viewers and our listeners to please share the show. Share the show as you join us this afternoon, this morning, this evening from your end, wherever you are joining us from. We'd like to welcome each and every one of you. So good. Just before we get here to the musical break and bring in Mr. Cummings, because it's in the back, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get straight into it. Uh, what say you? What are some of your expectations for today?
Well, first of all, I want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our listening audience. And it is always a pleasure to have Mr. Cummings on here. And on SKTV, for every time we have uh, a guest here, especially a political leader or presidential candidate, we always unveil a new thing. There will always be a breaking news because we ask them the relevant questions and they can talk. It's like make or break moment when it comes to SKT. And Mr. Cummings is not a stranger to this platform. So I'm here ready, and I believe the audience are even ready more than us to make it happen. So we are here, and hopefully, I do not expect anything less. It's just as usual thing. Mr. Cummings is very good. He knows his subject when it comes to talking about the issue as it relates to Liberia and the world at large. So he is aware of what he's doing. So hopefully, we have some serious questions to ask him, and I believe he'll be ready to answer these questions.
We have some serious questions to ask him, uh, says Mr. Sekou Kane. But ladies and gentlemen, as you are joining us, we would like for you to please share the show. Um, Invite someone. Today is to remind you of the date, the 26th of February 2023. It's currently 11:10 a.m. in Arizona. I think it's 6:10 p.m. in Liberia, and on the East Coast, it should be 1:10 p.m. We are getting ready here to bring in our guests, but just before we bring in Mr. Cummings, or before we get to the musical break here, really quick, this show or conversation today is simulcast here on Truth FM 96.1, Sky FM 107.7 in Liberia, Prom FM 105.5, Rear Power 100.3 radio,
Okay.
Bezon, Buchanan, Grand Bassa County, 107.3, and Delegan Radio in Vanjama 104.1. So we are heard all over in Liberia today. I can say all over the country. We have, like I said, we have some important discussion, national issues um, to talk about, global issues to talk about as well. So as we get ready for Mr. Cummings, as always, we'd like to welcome each and every one of you. We still believe that the Liberian people are the most important people on earth. But most importantly, we believe that the Liberian women are the most beautiful women on earth. Would like to see where we are today as to what's going on. And we will dive into different issues concerning our country. As always, we'll talk about the bread and butter issue. Don't you dare change the die, like my friend would say. Stay tuned as we get on to the musical break here. Really, really quick. We'll try to make it as short as possible so that we can get to the conversation here and not keep you too long waiting for this conversation, because I know many of you have been waiting for this. Let's get to a quick musical break here. We no copyright to this song.
You play music now? How come I'm not hearing it?
All right, we will not waste too much time here as we are well seated. We are not going to wait for the music to be over. We have Mr. Cummings already here. And just for the record, Mr. Cummings has been here, I don't know, since 11 o'clock sharp, as we said, 6 p.m., or even more so. But we have some technical issues, so he's been waiting in the back. We will get Mr. Cummings on really quick so that we can get started and afford you the opportunity to be part of this conversation at some point in time. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Mr. Cummings. How are you?
I'm very well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all listening to my voice this evening here in Monrovia. Good to be with you, Stephen Sekou.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you guys. Sekou,
Wonderful.
you're looking good. You're getting your strength back.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm trying.
Wonderful.
Yeah, wonderful.
Well,
Thank you.
it's always a pleasure having Mr. Cummings on here. Mr. Cummings is not a stranger to SKTV. He's been here more than once. And so for those of you who are just joining us, would ask you to please share the show as we get into the conversation here. Let's kickstart the conversation with Mr. Cummings. How's the country? How's life? How's your wife? And how's the CPP, the ANC, and the opposition at large?
Well, first of all, I always say we thank God for good health. Not just my health, Steve, but Teresa, my wife is fine. Our children, Ayu and Boykai are okay. Our grandchildren are fine. My mother struggling a little bit, but she's okay. My sisters are okay. My niece and nephew. So the family is well. The team working with me, supporting me, teams are all doing okay. The CPP, we're organizing ourselves, getting ready for voter registration, which, as you know, starts on March 20th. Organizing ourselves for the upcoming campaign. So we formed Team Cummings, and we're actually in the process of identifying teams at the county and district levels and identifying people to work with us. So we are sort of happy with where we are, but a lot of work still to do. The country continues to struggle. I think that's just a reality. I'm sure we'll get to, as you like to describe the bread and butter issues, but the challenges continue in Liberia, the rate of joblessness, inflation, high prices, all of those realities are facing our people. But again, I know we'll get to the details of that as we go forward. But thank you for asking. We're fine, and everybody's in good health, and that for me is the most important thing.
Wonderful. Wonderful. The country, there's a reality that we face within the country. Just before we get into some quick situations going on in Liberia and the bread and butter issues of Liberia and Liberians, what do you make of the elections in Nigeria, the transition? Some have compared you to Peter Obi, which is one of the contenders. I would say one of the leading forces now. The young people have gravitated towards him, and the country is gravitating towards him. There seemed to be a huge transition from the normal politics or politician to Peter Obi, who's a businessman, and he seemed to be pulling it off. What do you say?
Yeah, look, I want to be careful not to pick sides in the Nigerian election because it's still ongoing. So again, I want to be careful how I speak about it. But yes, Peter Obi has been likened to sort of fresh blood, fresh thinking. He has appeal to the young people of Nigeria. I think the polling in Nigeria would support that claim, that assertion. But we wish both candidates, all three candidates, success. Nigerians will make the call on who they want to lead them. And hopefully by Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll know and we'll congratulate whoever the victor is, and we look forward to becoming their peer sometime next year, this time, whoever wins the Nigerian election. But we wish them all well. And, everything you said about Peter Obi is what I read as well. But again, I want to be careful how I describe the Nigerian election because either one of them might be my peer next year.
Okay, either one of them might be my peer next year. Those are the words of Mr. Alexander Cummings. Mr. Alexander Cummings, let me ask you another question about what's going on in Ukraine in terms of China trying to play, I would say, motherly role to diffuse the confusion. The road, I think, of 12 or so forth or more bullet points, seeking peace, ceasefire, or whatever it is, to bring a resolution to this conflict in between Ukraine and Russia. Considering this has been going on for a year now, what do you make of it in terms of peace, in terms of stability for the world and Liberia at large? What do you say?
So, look, I would say, and the Ukrainians are best positioned to decide what peace looks like for them. I believe President Zelensky said he was willing to go to Beijing to meet with the Chinese leadership to talk about their peace plan. I would also say, Steve, that this is an area with regards to Ukraine that I'm aligned with the current administration, with President Weah's administration, and all of the resolutions that the Liberian government has voted for, condemning the invasion of sovereign state, you know, it would be like Liberia the territory called Liberia was bigger than what it is today. And our borders were changed, if you know the history of our country. So it would be like, you know, Liberia decided we want to reclaim land that is now part of Guinea or Ivory Coast or Sierra Leone. That is not practical. That doesn't make sense. If any continent has a right to argue that we should shift borders, it would be Africa, because the borders are completely arbitrary. They were put in by the Europeans, but we've accepted the borders as they are. And so, again, I'm aligned with this administration with regards to Ukraine. But I also think Ukrainians have to be the ones to decide what sort of peace plan makes sense for them. And to the extent President Zelensky is willing to discuss with the Chinese peaceful resolution to this conflict, is something that I think as a country we should support.
As a country, that's something we should support. And it's interesting that you've said that you align with President George and the current government in some of the stands, the decision they've taken in terms of this war. It's very interesting to hear that from a policy standpoint. But I'd like to go to Sekou Kane here, who will be taking over. Sekou.
Yeah, Sekou, before you come in, it's just important that everybody knows that I don't just criticize for criticizing sake. And if there's something I agree with President Weah, I will say so. The reality is most of what he's doing, I don't agree with. That's a fact. And I'm sure we'll talk about many of those things tonight, and we'll speak specifically about what they are. But where I agree with President Weah, I make no apologies for saying I support a particular position or stand or policy.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Cummings, for being here once again. We appreciate you coming. Every time we call, you always respond, and we really, really appreciate that. So again, I want to say welcome to SKT.
Good to be back.
Yeah, we are glad to have you back again. So I wanna know, and this is one question everybody asking in Liberia, that Mr. Cummings is not a new commodity compared to George Weah and the other competitor, Joseph Nima Boakai, the former vice president. Now you are going into this election. George Weah is saying that they can win the election one round. And if that happens, we don't know if that will happen. But what is the possibility if we are, and let's say we are is left out, Cummings and Boakai go for the second round? What is the possibility of that? Even though people are saying you are not the front runner, according to other people. We don't know what is going on in the background. We don't know how much behind the scenes putting you are doing. But what is the possibility of we are now going to the second round, then we end up seeing Joseph Boakai and Cummings in the second round? What is the possibility of
Yeah, great question, Sekou. Sincerely, I'm glad you asked. First of all, I would say, look, it is true that the former vice president and President Weah are more household names in Liberia. That's just a fact, because they've been around Liberian politics longer than I have. As you know, the former vice president has been in government for over 40 years. President Weah ran in 2005. He ran in 2011 as vice president, and he ran in 2017. So he's been around, and he was a very famous football player, as you know. So as a household name, or as household names, they're better known than I am. But having said that, we can and will beat them because our name recognition is enough. And what we offer is different enough, is realistic and practical enough that despite the fact that they have wider name recognition, we can and will beat them. Your question about the possibility that President Weah does not make it to the second round is very real. Let me tell you why. President Weah, at his peak of popularity, when he did not have a record to defend, I believe never got more than 38% in the first round. I think that's a fact. And Steve, you should check. Maybe you can go online quickly and correct me, or Sekou. So now that the president has a record to defend that is not a good record, we should not buy the CDC propaganda that they can win in the first round. And this propaganda, that if the opposition don't come together, we'll beat them. That's because I think they're planning to cheat. And let me just put it out there. And so when they manipulate the votes and do whatever they do through the voter registration process, the census process, they can say, oh, but obviously they didn't come together. Assuming we don't, we may. And that's why we win in the first round. Liberians should not buy that crap. President Weah at his peak, when he was most popular, when he didn't have a record to defend, never got more than 30% in the first round. And to think now that our people are suffering, civil servants are making less money, unemployment is higher, prices are higher, we are losing our international reputation, security and safety of Liberians is worse. This record the president has to defend is indefensible. And to think with that record, when you never got more than 30%, you can win the first round, nobody's stupid here, not even in the president's Miami. So it's very possible that the former vice president and I could go to the second round, and may the best person win. We are going to compete everywhere in Liberia, every district, every community. We will be present. This will be a national campaign. Yes, we'll spend more time, more resources in some districts, in some counties more than others. That's just practical. That's just what you do, because we're not going to have the money the government has, since they're going to be spending your and my money. So it's very possible that the former vice president and I will be the two in the second round, and then may the best person win. That would be a good outcome for Liberia, by the way. If the choice is between the former vice president and I, that would be a very good outcome for Liberia, as opposed to President Weah.
So let's put it this way: if it is all the way around, assuming that you and President Weah go for the second round, what is the possibility of you winning over Buckeye supporters, given the level of hate that is being displayed by members of both parties for each other, to the extent where some of them are saying, if it's now Cummings, I mean, I've heard that from some people from Buckeye supporters, specifically the former Secretary General, if it's now Buckeye, then let it be to Weah. It can be anything else. Assuming that you go for the second round with George Weah, what is the possibility of you winning over Buckeye supporters?
I think it's very, 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 very likely, highly likely that will happen. Look, there are some of these voices out there, Sekou, on both sides, that make those kinds of statements. I don't believe it represents the vast majority of the Liberian people. Most of the Liberian people are not in any party, by the way, in any one of our political parties, right? And so I don't subscribe to that. I believe those statements from leaders in either organizations are reckless, they're uncalled for. And so I do believe that when I go to the second round, assuming there's a second round, and that we don't win in the first round, that we'll get the support of majority of Liberians, including UP partisans. We'll even get many seditionists to support us, because there are many seditionists who are dissatisfied, who are disaffected, who are feeling the mismanagement, the misrule, the incompetence of this president. And both in the first round and the second round, we will get seditionists, people from the UP, and all other political parties and institutions to support us.
So you are currently in Liberia, And given what you know in terms of the preparedness of the government, the National Election Commission, do you see this election happening? Are they prepared? And if so, if not, if the election is not held, then what happens next?
So I don't think any responsible Liberian and most so Liberian leader should be contemplating the elections not happening in Sekou. It is our duty and is a responsibility of the government in power to ensure that this election happens, to ensure that we do not create an unnecessary constitutional crisis. And so this government needs to make sure the National Elections Commission is adequately funded to conduct these elections. And we will ensure, all Liberians should ensure and put pressure on this government and on the commission to ensure the elections are free, fair, and transparent. This is an area where we should be collaborating as the opposition. This is one area where we should not be competing, that we should be pulling our resources, our energies together to ensure elections not only happens, but that it is free, fair, and transparent. And so we should not contemplate that not happening. The schedule now is very tight. There is very little room for slippage. And so the Elections Commission needs to make sure it has its act together. The government needs to make sure the commission is funded and held accountable to make sure we pull off the elections. We are going to be vigilant. We are concerned about their capability and capacity. We are introducing biometric for the first time with very little time, so lots of concerns. But we should not contemplate the elections not happening, and we should all, in our various roles, work towards ensuring that it does happen.
Steve, I have a lot more questions, but I will go back to you, and then we will come back later on to ask more questions.
Thank you, Mr. Conan. Really quick, because we're in real time here, and we're fact checking some of the things Mr. Cummings said, especially in terms of the election results, and the fact that he also requested that we do the fast checks really quick on those numbers. 2005, when President George Weah had no record, ran by himself against the Unity Party, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, 28% in the first round. 2011, when President George Weah ran as vice president to Winston Totman, he had 32%, both of them, 2011. 2017's election, the results in the first round, President George Weah ran not alone this time around with a coalition, I think made of 3 or 4 different parties or whatever, not more or less. He had 38%. So I think your assertions are factual based on what you said, the numerical value. But let's move forward to something else here, because in terms of those numbers,
I'm glad I was correct.
All right, let's move on to something else here, because it's important for us to discuss some of these issues, especially in terms of President George Weah's competency, because those are records that he will be running on this time around. And so in this light, what do you make of the security of the country? Let's include the most recent event, the allegation that there were armed robbers in the house of the former Chief Justice, former Senator, I think from Maryland County.
Correct.
And so, yeah, and other key roles that she's played in our country. But not only that, there's also an allegation for Prince Johnson, a sitting senator, threat on his life. There's also, we've listened to Charlie Bronskin, who has made some allegations as well about threats. And other people have made some allegations about threats as well. Most recently, there was a journalist that's also, I think, Ayu or so forth, made an allegation about threats on his life. Sekou Sharif, one of the journalists as well, made an allegation about threat on his life. And these are just pattern and consistency. What do you say about the security of the country?
Well, a few things. One is, first of all, I want to extend my sympathy to Gloria, the former Chief Justice. I call her Gloria because we were classmates in high school. we graduated from CPP together, so I know Gloria personally for 50 years or so, so I know her very well. And I want to extend my sympathy. I went to see her this afternoon. I called her right after the incident, and I went to visit with her this afternoon to her house here on 16th Street. So my sincere sympathy to her. But what happened to her is not an allegation, Steve. Her daughter was actually killed. Another one was attacked. She was attacked. So, I mean, this is real. And it's symptomatic. You mentioned other examples. It's symptomatic of the lack of security and safety in our country. And guys, that is so basic. I mean, that is fundamental to the survival almost of any country, that people feel safe in their homes, in the streets, in their villages, in their communities, that they can go out any time of night. And for that not to be happening in 2023 in Liberia, shame on President Weah, shame on the CDC government. And it is a manifestation of the ineptitude and incompetence of this government. You know, Gloria, the former Chief Justice, sounded the alarm about her security and safety, about previous attempts, and nothing was done. No action was taken. And you mentioned what Senator Johnson said and others have said. You didn't mention the mysterious deaths of the auditors and other things that have happened in the recent past under this administration. So that is so basic, so fundamental. You know, illegal drugs coming into the country. It took the Americans to point that out. You know, illegal arms coming into the country. There is a pattern here, not only in the security area, but in many other areas. But security is just basic, it's just fundamental. If people don't feel safe, nothing will happen in Liberia. Nothing will move forward. The economy will shrink. And so shame on President Weah, shame on the CDC government for creating this very unsafe environment where Liberians don't feel safe leaving their homes, and where investigations are announced and no result. Nothing happens. I mean, it's embarrassing for a country that's 175 years old for us to be living under these circumstances.
I'll stick with the security issues and accountability because they're all intertwined. Most recently, Joel Milburn, who's the deputy to the current ambassador in Liberia, was at Cottington University, and I think it was on the 15th. And Joel Milburn made a recommendation, reminded the Liberian government to prosecute, or the judicial branch of government, to ensure that they hold accountable everyone that was sanctioned. That includes Senator Prince Johnson. What say you in that context in terms of our relationship with the U.S. and the world at large, when we have people who were either sanctioned or have some criminal allegations on them, and the government, Lassadasko, has done nothing about it. It's doing nothing about it. President George Weah promised, but he has not lived up to his promise to even bring these guys to book or hold them accountable. What do you say?
Well, I say one is just another in a long list of examples of the president making statements and promises, and he has no intentions of keeping. I believe it was August last year when the president said he would investigate his former Minister of State, former Solicitor General, all of those that were sanctioned then by the U.S. government. And of course, nothing has happened. There's been no investigation. And for me, I will not go as far, unlike the president, to prejudge whether people should be prosecuted or not. I think the facts should determine that. At a minimum, the investigation should take place. At a minimum. And then wherever, if the facts are sufficient enough to lead to prosecution, then prosecution should take place, right? But at a minimum, that should take place. And the president promised, he said there will be an investigation, and zero, nothing. But we can go through a litany of things the president promised. And, you know, I think the president makes statements, make remarks. I don't think sometimes you understand why he's saying it, again stuff to read, or tell him to say stuff. right? Because as a president, your word is your bound. You say in the public to the country that elected you, you lead the country. So when you say this thing, you should do it. And there's been no follow-up, no follow-through, no investigation has taken place. So again, shame on the president is one of many promises he's made that he hasn't followed through on. And so, yes, I think shame on us that Americans um, uh, and have to tell us what we need to do as a sovereign country. I think Nimote, the civil society organization, I think gives the president 8%. Say he's only fulfilled 8% of his promises. So these are numbers, right? So this is a
Right.
man who makes promises, right? Say things and have no intentions of 8%. That's even less than F Siku, right? I don't even know how you grade that on a scale. You can't even scale it, right? I mean, it's so low. But just another example of the lack of performance. And this is why we will make president. We are a one-term president. He
And
does not
this
deserve a second term.
and this is why we'll make President George Weah our second-term president. He does not deserve
It's a
A
one term.
one-term president, Siku.
a
It is
one-term
a second
president.
term.
A
A
one-term
one-term.
president.
You said
It's a
second.
one-term president.
Don't
That
say
means he's not
that.
going to go
A
for second term.
one-term president. Don't misquote me.
Very well. This is why we'll make President Weah a one-term president, says Mr. Alexander B. Cummings. But just before Sekou comes in, I'd like to push back a little bit on the process of making him one-term president, because it's one thing to say, but it's another thing to have it actually actualized. In terms of the ANC and the CPP, there has been lots of complaints from people who want to join Mr. Cummings or who believe in Mr. Cummings' vision for Liberia, people who are within the ANC or the CPP that complain about access to Mr. Cummings, or even people reaching out to them, or returning calls, visitation. It seems as though there's some war built around Mr. Cummings for some of them. Some of the things they've said to us behind the scenes, some of them are on record as well. They have called us and told us. And some of them have said, well, I think Mr. Cummings, they're not serious, because after the retire suffering rally, nothing, everything just seems stalled. Nothing's going on, or whatever not. What do you say about your communication with the people, reaching out to the people, expanding and so forth? How do we access Mr. Cummings? What do you say?
So there are multiple questions there, and I'll answer all of them. In fact, I don't think people say that behind the scenes. They say that publicly. I think even on SKTV. So what I would say is, look, I would say shame on me, right? That this perception exists, that people feel they don't have access or we're not returning their calls. That's something I take seriously. I take responsibility for. Is something that I need to correct very, very, very quickly. And my commitment to you and to everybody listening to me, that we take this feedback very seriously, and we will do everything we can to correct it, to make sure access is there. We're reaching out, we're returning calls. I asked for some understanding that there's one of me, and I'm trying to touch as many people as possible. Part of the challenge is even the people who I've touched, I've reached out to, still want to touch, and I'm trying to touch additional new people to grow this tent. And it's a challenge. But having said that, not an excuse. I have to figure out a way to do it. I have to hold the team responsible to make sure they're returning calls and people have access to me. And so I take responsibility, and that's something we will fix. We have to fix because we're determined to be successful and to make president. We are one-term president.
We're determined to be successful and make President George. We are one-term president. The voice of Mr. Alexander Cummings. Those of you just following, you're watching it, you're following us via Facebook Live, YouTube, or wherever else. We want to say welcome to SKTV. Please share the show. Invite someone. We're in a conversation here with Mr. Alexander B. Cummings. Sekou, is up to you.
I'm sorry, I've muted myself first. So, Mr. Cummings, once again, I want to say thank you for joining SKTV today. Speaking of people complain, I want to know, I know many Liberians want to know,
How prepared are you outside of Monrovia? Is your campaign, or let's say, is your team actually reaching out to other Liberians that are not in Montserrat County? Are you prepared in terms of organization? Because one of the major complaints that we have heard from people is that Cummings get a lot of people spending money on the people, but they're just sitting out in Monrovia. They're not reaching out to the people in the hinterland, in the villages, in the counties. How prepared are you? Are you really reaching out?
You know, in some ways, I think it's a good thing, by the way, Sipo and Steve, that people have these concerns and this feedback, because that means they care. And that means they want us to be successful. They want us to win. And so that's a good thing. But sometimes our opponents amplify some of these things as well to say, well, that's why Cummings can't win. You know, so sometimes there's a part of political propaganda, the part of the psychology. But I think there are many people who are sincere and genuine and want us to win, and so they have these, these concerns and these complaints, and that's why I take the feedback well, and my commit will do something about it. But let me give you the facts, though. We are perhaps the most organized party in the country, in the sense that we got county offices in all the county capitals. Not all the quote-unquote political parties do are active. And I will not call names, but you'll be surprised, by the way, as some big name parties that don't have offices everywhere. We have structures everywhere, the ANC does, in every county, every district. And we are reaching out. We need to reach out more. For example, Sekou, the last 2 weeks, people in Monrovia will not even know this. Every morning at 8 o'clock, I've been on community radio stations. Fact. All over the country, Maryland, River G, River Cess, Papolu, Mount, the list goes on and on every day for the last 2 weeks. Just as an example, we have now identified campaign leaders for the major counties, and we'll be announcing those shortly. So we got somebody that will lead and coordinate our effort in Nima, in Grand Bassa, and so on and so forth, in Bong, etc., etc. We are building the team, we're building the organization, and with this voter registration process, people will see an increase in activity. Next week, I will be spending actually this week, starting Tuesday evening. I'm leaving Tuesday afternoon. I will spend the rest of the week in Nimba, guys. And then on Saturday, Friday night, I get back. Saturday, we're going to have a scheduling rally in District 10 here. So we are ramping up our activity. We are organizing ourselves so that when we start activity, we want to sustain it. We want to build a crescendo up to October 10th. It doesn't make sense to start running and then you stop because you run out of fuel, or you're not organized, or you don't have the resources. So we're working on that. But as early as next week, I want to start traveling around the country. In the process, we have a meeting on Monday to start to finalize our representative candidates and electoral candidates, because they will be part of the campaign process and structure as well. They will campaign for us, we for them, and we want to coordinate that effort. There was a meeting held on Friday. We have subsequent meetings. So we're using the time to organize ourselves, and when we get going, people will be shocked and surprised because the momentum will just build. But we'll take the feedback, and we will strive and do our best to improve and reach out beyond. As the saying, we know Montserrat is not Liberia, Monrovia is not Liberia, and we know that. And we make the effort to get to everybody, touch everybody across the country.
Okay. So in this election, I know we have other candidates, but we have three major candidates: Mr. Cummings, Mr. Weah, Mr. Boakai. Who do you consider as your major opponent? That
They're both.
that if I can beat this person, Mr. Kumi will be the next president. Who do you consider as your major opponent?
No, I gotta beat both of them.
You gotta beat both of them,
Seriously.
but
I gotta beat
who
both
you
of
think
them.
is going to be difficult to beat?
No,
Because
our strategy. Our strategy, serious, and we have a strategy. I'm not just using these words. We looked at the country. We have identified by district where we think our strengths and weaknesses are. We have, per that strategy, we know where we're going to spend time and resources. As I said, we'll spend time everywhere. We'll compete everywhere, but we'll spend more time in some places than others. So we have a plan. We have a strategy. We'll implement it, and that strategy is to win in the first round. May or may not happen. Statistically, it might be a challenge, but I'm not singling out any one individual. You're right, there's going to be three main candidates on the ballot. So I agree with you on that one. There'll be Alexander Cummings, Joseph Boyka, George Weah on the ballot. But they are both my opponents. They are both going to be difficult to beat, and we're working hard to beat both of them and to be successful.
Mr. Cummings, the last time we had a conversation with you was in San Francisco, California. Was it San Francisco? Sacramento, California. Yeah. So we met there. We covered you on the town hall, where you stood up for 3 hours plus, having a town hall discussion with a lot of people were amused by that energy, by that level of energy. However, we asked you about your vice presidential candidate. How close are we? How close are you from nominating your vice presidential candidate? If it's close, when? If not, why?
Yeah, we had a good interaction in Sacramento with the Liberian community out there. You know, one thing I was impressed with the number levels of professionals of Liberians. You know, we ran into a lot of Liberian engineers for some reason. I guess maybe because of Silicon Valley or the technology in California, but a lot of Liberian engineers and professionals. And it was a good outing. And thanks to you and Steve for coming out. So, like with everything I do, Sekou, I try to be methodical about how I think about things. We set up a committee to help us with the VP selection process. They've developed the criteria in terms of qualifications, experience. They've looked at the geography of our country to help determine what geography might make sense to, get the candidate from. They've identified a list of potential candidates. We've started to have some discussions, preliminary discussion with some of the candidates. Ideally, when we go to convention, which will be end of March, early April, we're gonna pin down the date soon. That would be the ideal time for me to name my running mate. And so I want to shoot for that timing. That may or may not happen. The Liberian elections law give us the flexibility. I think it's up to 60 days prior to the election. Again, you guys can fact check me, but I think I'm correct. I may be off a little bit. But the point is, we got time beyond my target, my goal. But for me, the sooner the better, Sekou. But I also want to pick the right person. Person who will complement what we're trying to do. Person who, in the unlikely case we don't control it, something happens to me, I know the agenda will continue. Person who will bring some votes, some resources to help us win collectively. So it's more important that we get the right person than to rush it. But I'm not going to wait until 60 days before election either. I can assure you of that.
So not to cut you off, but on the same vein, um, in terms of the kind of person, what are some of the characteristics are you looking for? What are your major concerns? Some of the important things, important character that you would like to have in your vice president? Because at the end of the day, your committee going to go to work and everything. They will bring some recommendations, and you will have to choose from that recommendation. So, what are some of the most important things to you that that you want to see in a vice president? You know, somebody
Yeah,
for you to
sure.
become as vice president.
Yeah. So, in no particular order, because I will list a few items, but they're all important. One is I want somebody who is what I call who is comfortable with themselves, who is secured with who they are, who sort of know what they know what they don't know, willing to get advice, somebody who is willing to get build a good team of smart people around them, who's comfortable with themselves. That's a very important characteristic of a leader. And so that's something I want to look for in a candidate in terms of personal characteristic and trait. The second thing I want to look for, I'm an introvert, and so I think it would be good, not a must, to have somebody who a bit of more of an expressive, an extrovert, so that we can have the yin and yang. And again, it's not a must, but I think that something will be good that will have complementary characteristics in that respect. I want somebody who have had both private sector and public sector experience. That would be good if they bring both. If they only bring public sector, that's not bad, or only private sector, that's okay too. But that blend of experience, I think, would be a plus for me. Ideally, not a must, somebody younger than me, um, because Liberia is a young country, and although they may not be, in their 30s, but somebody younger than me, I think, would be good to represent the youth of our nation. Again, not a must, but that's something I'm looking for characteristic-wise. And then if they come from a big county where they can bring votes, that would be a plus. That would be gravy. That would be icing on the cake. As with the presidential choices, Steve, there'll be no perfect person. Just that, we talked earlier about three main choices: myself, Joe, and the president. None of us are perfect men, but that's a relative choice. And so we have a relative choice of VP candidates we'll have to choose from. But those are some of the characteristics we'll be looking for in the vice presidential candidates that I mentioned. Somebody comfortable with themselves, somebody who complements me character-wise, somebody brings public sector and private sector experience would be a good thing. And then somebody who comes from a big county that can bring some votes to help us. I want somebody who is disciplined, who's hardworking, good integrity, good values. Those are also considerations for the vice presidential choice.
Those are also considerations for vice presidential choice. Those seem to be some very critical elements for vice presidential choice from Mr. Alexander Cummings. Mr. Alexander Cummings, just a quick question on that. Does it matter the gender? Are you open to a specific gender?
Actually, yes, my preference would be a woman. Again, it's not a must. That would be a preference. So gender, the country is 50-50, right? So it'd be wonderful to have a woman on the ticket, and I would really want that. But again, it's not a must, but I would really like that to be the case. Yes.
As we head to the general elections 2023, you've said, I'm paraphrasing you, we should remain optimistic that the elections will be held. And so we'll keep that in that context for this question. I know when you were the CPP, when you had the United Party and the ALP in there was a benchmark for the percentage of women participation running at some point. And I stand to be corrected if I'm making a mistake on that, on those requirements or expectations that you guys set. Going to this general election, what are the expectations for female participations? especially for other, such as senator, representative, and so forth? What are some of your expectations? What do we expect as the public?
Yeah, so let me just first of all say, Siku, I don't think we should be optimistic that elections happen. We should insist that it happens. I want to put the emphasis there. That for me, it's not an option that it doesn't happen. I mean, we cannot have a country, Siku, where we even, I mean, you live in the United States. There's no more discussion whether the election will happen on November, whatever the date is on that year. There's no more debate. It's just going to happen, right?
Right.
And as Liberians, that's it. That should be our mindset about these things. If the Constitution says the census should happen every 10 years, it should happen every 10 years. If the Constitution says by election when somebody die or resign should happen within 60 days, 90 days, whatever, it should happen. These things are not optional. I mean, we shouldn't think that way, please. So it will happen on October 10th. It has to happen on October 10th because we shouldn't. And when I become president, I want Liberian people to hold me accountable for these things, Siku. We cannot be, the Constitution is the Constitution is the Constitution, right? That's the mindset. Anyway, let me come to your question on women participation. So I believe the NEC guidelines and also the UN representative here, we all as political parties sign a document that we want to shoot for a minimum, I think, of 30% of our candidates to be women. And that's the commitment. And so we're trying hard to meet that commitment. I have to say it's a challenge, honestly, to do that. But we're working very hard. We're striving very hard. This is why I believe, for us to make sure this thing happens over time, we should actually mandate it. We should make it law. We should be affirmative action. There was a bill in the Senate some years ago. I remember the current Vice President Joe Howard Taylor came to see me, and there were one or two other women, I believe. Geraldine Doe Sharif was with her to support an affirmative action bill that they wanted to pass, and we supported that bill. Lobbying for it and otherwise, and it didn't pass. But I was a strong advocate of that. I continue to be a strong advocate of that because when you make it mandatory, then we have to get rid of the excuses. Then the government has to provide the resources or any other barriers that get in the way of women participation. So I'm a strong advocate of that. But I believe it's 30% that we've all committed to, Steve. And we're working hard to meet that goal. But I must admit, it will be a challenge. And I don't want to pretend otherwise to the listening audience here. It's a challenge to do it, but we're trying to work hard towards that goal.
I'm a bit, I might need some clarity because for me, it seemed a little vague. And maybe to some other people, it might be a little vague. Challenging what context? To recruit women to participate to meet the 30% mark?
To identify women willing to participate. You don't want just to pick women who don't have a good chance of winning.
Right.
You want to pick women who willing to join, have a good chance of winning, just like men. Same criteria. Who bring some resources, we will provide some resources to them as well. So it's a challenge because we have what's patriarchal society, right? And so going against that grain is a challenge. But we're working hard to encourage women to come and join us so we can support them in the effort to get more women into the legislature. What I will say, though, what I can commit to is that when I become president, because then I can appoint, right? That scenario is different. There, we will shoot for 40 to 50% of the cabinet being women. And we'll do whatever we can, whatever we have to do to make sure that's the case.
Okay.
So Steve, I'm sorry that my system went down while Mr. Cummings was answering my question. I actually had a follow-up question to that particular question.
Please go ahead.
That has to do with women because Mr. Cummings was talking about some of the characteristics, that he would consider in the search for the vice president. Now that one of their major opponents happened to be President Weah, his vice president is a female. Do you think having a female vice president will be an added advantage also for you, or that will somehow balance the equation in terms of competition, or it doesn't really matter whether it's a male or female? You just want those characteristics that you just mentioned in your vice president.
I think Steve beat you to that question when you were awful.
Okay. You see, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, he asked that question too, and the answer is yes. Ideally, we want a woman vice president. What I said to Steve, it's not a must, but that would be my preference.
Oh,
If we
okay.
can, yeah. So your buddy, you're thinking alike. That's why you're on the same
Good
team.
job. Good job,
Yeah.
Steve. Good job. Okay. So another question that I wanted to ask you, Mr. Cummings, is about this whole unity, opposition unity. And I'm told that there is an ongoing discussion. Based on what? Unite around what? Unite around who? Can we have some understanding as to what this so-called opposition unity means and what it actually brings, and what are some of the things you guys working on, if at all you're working on anything? Because I know vice presidency is not a question based on what you've told us before, because you say nobody get into a competition to be second. So if the Cummings vice president, Boaka vice president, that's no longer a question, to my belief. So if there is any discussion about unity, opposition unity, what are some of the reasons? Why, based on what? Unity on what and around who?
So, Sekou, Steve, good questions, and it is a good one. The first thing I would say is that the concept of opposition unity is a good thing, right? I mean, and Liberians generally want that, and they want to see that. And this is why we agreed to join the CPP in the first place. That's why it was formed. That's why, without hesitation, we agreed to join the CPP, because we thought it made sense to have opposition unity. And look, there is no question, if the opposition combines together, it makes it easier to beat President Weah. As I said earlier, with three main candidates, we will beat President Weah. Weah will be a one-term president. Let me just make that clear. And as Steve checked my statistics, at the president's peak of popularity with auto record to defend, in the first round, he only got 38%. Now he has a record to defend, which is a bad record. He will not get anywhere close to that. And in 2017, there were 27 people running, I think 18 or 22 or something like that. So we can beat him whether we come together or not. But it's not a bad thing if we come together. One. Second thing I would say is, we never left the CPP, right? We came together because opposition unity made sense, as I mentioned. The Unity Party, which was their right, the ALP, which was their right, decided to leave the CPP. They took me to court, all that kind of. It doesn't matter. We put that behind us. We are where we are. We move forward. We are still open to people coming back to the CPP or finding other ways of cooperating, collaborating. As I mentioned earlier, we should be working together on elections integrity, because it doesn't do any of us any good to be on the ballot if the government is going to rig the election. And so, whether it's on a census, to make sure we are comfortable that the census results reflect the reality of the population by community, by district, by county, we should be working together to ensure that's the case. We should be working together to ensure that the elections is free, fair, and transparent. And if there's some political alignment that takes place, we should be open to those conversations as well. Um, we can have an understanding. The discussion can be, look, we'll all compete in the first round, and in the second round, we'll support each other. That could be another part of the discussion that needs to take place. Those discussions have not taken place. They're not taking place, but we're open to that because it makes sense for us to collaborate to make sure President Weah does not succeed himself, given his abysmal performance.
Okay.
Steve, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Kane. Those of you watching us or joining us, this is SKTV. We're in a conversation here with Mr. Alexander Cummings, the standard bearer of the ANC and the CPP at large. And so we have gone pretty close over the hour mark here. We have a couple more questions from Mr. Cummings, and we'll have the opportunity to open the lines for you to participate. Those of you listening to us via the radio in Liberia, we have simulcast on different radio stations. We say thank you. Keep following the conversation here. Unfortunately, we will not be taking calls from Liberia today because we don't have our correspondent in the studio to do that, to help us. But we'll take one or two calls from Liberians in the diaspora to participate. We also want to remind our viewers and our listeners about the Cash App that's posted on there. Feel free to visit the Cash App. We would appreciate it. But we want to get back with Mr. Cummings here, considering Mr. Cummings, you've said a couple of things that I need to maybe push you on just a little bit. This is one of the very first time I've heard you make claims of the government rigged the election, the government want to rig the election. Someone might say, we heard similar thing from one of the opposition leaders, Vice President Joseph Yoman Boakai, in the most recent senatorial election in Lofa County, when he alarmed that, the election over there, the government will rig it, and, paraphrasing him and so forth. The Unity Party made such claim. Are you laying the basis so that when you are defeated in 2023, you could have something to rely on? What's bringing up this election rigging conversation continuously?
First of all, let me sincerely encourage people to use the Cash App to support SKTV. These guys provide good service, seriously. And so for those listening to me today, please use the app and let's support Siku Steve and the team that brings us this service. But back to your question, Steve. The concern is as follows. This government has a history of trying to, sort of bend the rules, not follow the Constitution, and I'll give you examples, and make promises, commitments, examples of ineptitude and incompetence. So with that kind of track record, we have to be concerned about elections integrity, about the possibility that to succeed themselves, they will try to cheat. Whether the fact that the census should have taken place in 2018, it didn't happen, violation. Many of the by-elections didn't happen on schedule. Many promises this president has made hasn't happened. Many investigations they have announced, whether it's the 25 million mop-up, the 16 billion that were printed, and then the mysterious deaths of the auditors auditing these debts. The list goes on and on. The president makes commitments in his State of the Nation address. There's nothing happens, no follow-up, no follow-through. The lack of funding for the National Elections Commission on a consistent basis. The fact that this is his commission, meaning that he appointed the 7 commissioners and the chairman, right? So all of the issues around biometric, the fact that voter registration has been delayed, has been compressed, the impact the census potentially has on the elections, these all raises alarm bells. It is should for Liberians, not just because I'm in opposition, I'm in politics. We should all be concerned about these misdeeds and looking at the history of this government, yes, we should be concerned about that. And we make no apology about raising the alarm on the possibility of this happening. And we just have to be vigilant. We have to watch and monitor, and we'll have to have the facts, right? So it's not just good enough to say it happened. We'll have to prove that it happened, and we'll organize ourselves to make sure that's the case. Because end of the day, if we believe it happened, we have to prove it. I have to go to court, and we have to have the evidence. And so we'll make sure we organize ourselves to be able to do that if it does happen.
So Steve, I just have an announcement to make.
Please.
Before you talk about the Cash App, Mr. Joseph Conto had already donated $25 through Cash App. We saw that. After Mr. Cummings' announcement, we encouraged that people should donate. Two people have donated $20 and $30. One came through Zelle, one came through Cash App. Two people after that. So I want to say thank you to those people who have contributed. We always do that here. We announce people every time they donate. Some people don't want their name to be called, but Joseph Control has been doing it not just one time. Some days we'll give $50, some day $25, some day $20. And we have a consistent donor also here who gives $5 every show we have. So anytime anybody gives something, we announce it. We appreciate you. We say thank you so much. So, but I want to say, Steve, ANC people may be here today, and the man is saying that the people should donate. And all the people that are here, at the end of the day, will tell you exactly how much was donated to SKTV, as a support for what we're doing, for our country. But yeah, we appreciate everybody, and we also appreciate Mr. Cummings adding his voice there for people to contribute to SKTV. I just want to make that announcement so you can continue with the conversation.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and look, yeah, seriously, guys, again, your listeners, many of them live in the United States, and of course, we're simulcasting. Yeah, but you got National Public Radio, NPR. They raise money. People contribute, right? They don't do advertising. You don't do advertising. You're providing a service. And yes, let me call on the ANC partisans who are listening to contribute to SKTV tonight as well, because you are providing a service to our country, and I mean that sincerely. So people should take that into account and contribute.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Cummings. Thank you, Sekou. We will get to the bread and butter issue here because Mr. Cummings, you've said openly this is one of your famous sayings for which Liberian people know you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. And so we've seen this picture before. The 2017 elections, which brought about you guys going to court. As evidenced by that, it's been reported widely that was part of the reason the CDC-led government allegedly got rid of Justice Kabila Janneh because of his dissenting view on the issues. So that the prerequisites or the steps have been laid for a similar thing to happen. And you would more likely end up in court should it happen. Do you think you'd be able to win a CDC-led government in court?
I don't plan to have to go to court for them, Sekou. Steve. We will win them overwhelmingly. There will be no need to go to court. The Liberian people are resolved that George will not go back. The CDC-led government, they are good politicians. They are good propagandists. They've been horrible FICI leaders. We may end up in court. I think it's unlikely. But I think if we end up in court, the evidence will also be overwhelming. So it'll be hard for people to waver, if you will, when the evidence is so overwhelming. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Our goal right now, is to win convincingly, so that the need to go to court will not exist. That's the immediate goal, But we will put the process in place to monitor so that in case there are irregularities, we will have the facts to support the irregularities that will make it difficult for the judges. And look, I don't want to, it would be inappropriate for me to cast aspersions at the justices today of the Supreme Court. I will go into any process if it leads to that, assuming that they will do the right things, that they will follow the law.
Okay, assuming they'll do the right thing. Let me follow up with another question. Earlier, I started on a conversation with comparing you based on what some Liberians have said and some people around the world have also said. Those back home and in the diaspora have said you are similar to Peter Obi of Nigeria, whether it's background, achievements, or whatever not. So I want to read something that Peter Obi said, and I want to get your view on it. On the 23rd of January, Peter Obi had a little conversation here where he had to make his point about policy change, institutional reforms in his country. This is what he said, quote, Nigeria stands at a critical juncture, having suffered from 2 recessions in the past 6 years, unprecedented level of physical and food insecurity, persistent fuel scarcity, and high levels of crude oil theft. Civic fatigue also remain an important challenge, and Buhari's 3 main policy pillars of security, economic, and corruption to be defining issues for citizens. Basically, he was criticizing the current government about their stance. Like I said earlier, Peter Obi has been able to pull the young people out. He's created so much enthusiasm in the young people. The young people seem to be the decisive voting force population in Nigeria today. What is Mr. Cummings doing to follow similar suits? How can we see this euphoria and the momentum that Peter Obi is pulling up from Mr. Cummings?
So, again, I want to be careful. I think the comparisons to Peter Obi are meant to be positive and complimentary. So I accept that. But again, I will let the Nigerian decide. But they have decided already. They just counting the votes now, right? They will decide who they want to lead them. And again, one of these people will be my colleague next year. So I don't want to run into Peter Obi or Atiku or Tinubu and somebody play the tip back. So you are picking the other person's side, right? But the comparisons are meant to be complimentary. So I understand the question, Steve. So we are, and I will also add in answer to the question that it was literally in the last 4 months or so that the pendulum began to swing towards Peter. He started to build momentum. It hasn't been, the perception was when he first entered, he didn't have a chance. I see you shaking your head because it's true.
Yes.
So it's in the last 3-4 months that really the momentum has picked up. And that parallel we think will be the same. So as I mentioned earlier, Steve, we're organizing ourselves right now so that when we get going sometime in mid-March, we'll begin to build that kind of momentum leading up to the election. And a big part of that, a big part of Peter Obi's success was the social media work, social media strategy. And so we are reviewing on Tuesday a very detailed social media plan for Team Cummings that we will implement, and you will begin to see our activity on social media be much more coherent, much more consistent than you've seen, in the past. And because that's where a lot of our young people get the information. Even though the social media, in terms of people's access, is limited in Liberia, but it's the leading indicator. So as you know, what shows on social media is what's talked about on the radio the next day or is in print.
Right.
So the breadth is wider than people think, even though the folks actually on there are small, but influences the rest of the mediums, right? So we will get that right. And then we are going to be targeted at the young people in terms of our initiatives. So even as we travel around the country, we'll always make sure we're touching the youth, focusing on youth issues, speaking to the young people. And so we're organizing ourselves for all of that now. We'll launch the effort and you'll begin to see the momentum build as we go towards October this year.
Okay, just before Sekou comes in, let me ask you this question, because Senator Prince Johnson, one of the reasons for which he couldn't re-sign with the CDC, I think as of today, I believe so, based on the records, he has not re-signed with the CDC as of today. One of the reasons was the inability for President George Weah to create jobs in the country or to bring foreign investors. Let me put it that way. Mr. Cummings, we now hear people, let me talk in the real Labrador way. We now hear people say, Mr. Cummings get contact. We hear the same story about Jowea get contact. Jowea know people. When Jowea win, he will bring international contact. He will do, Mr. Cummings, they contact the people say you get. How it will benefit our people there?
So the difference between President Weah and I, Steve, is President Weah contacts were other footballers, mostly former footballers. In fact, to his inauguration, a lot of them came. My international contacts are business people, the people that really create and bring jobs and bring foreign companies, because that's the world I grew up in. The other difference between me and President Weah that will be evident is that I know what kind of environment you need to create to attract foreign investors. Because in my role when I ran Coca-Cola all of Africa, and in my global role as number 2, 3 executive, we had to make investment decisions to go into various countries. And so I know what the kind of environment that attracted us to invest in those countries. And that's the kind of environment we need to create if we want to attract foreign investors, companies to come and create good jobs. So the difference is the relationships I have are the ones that will bring jobs. Other difference is I know what kind of environment people are looking for to bring jobs to bear, and it will happen. We will make that happen. We'll create an environment for that to happen, but we'll also create an environment for Liberian businesses to grow and do well and become big too. We will do both. They're not mutually exclusive. So yes, we'll attract foreign investors, but we'll make sure. Look, I'll give you some examples, right? If you want to attract foreign investors, you got to make sure the people who are already here feel good about the environment, because the other people that you want to bring, they will call the people they will call ArcelorMittal, or they will call Orange or Lone Star to say, how's the environment, right? And so we will make sure that the environment is conducive for those people who are already here, in addition to the environment being conducive to. One of the areas, for example, is the whole judiciary system, the whole rule of law, people feeling safe. It's that basic. If people don't feel safe, the Liberians themselves, the foreigner will not come. They will not pay their money here. And they don't have to come to Liberia. They can go to Sierra Leone, they can go to Ghana, they can go to Ivory Coast. We're all in the same environment. The risks are similar, right? So we got to make our environment attractive. Judicial system, safety, all the regulations, reducing the stealing. I'll give you another real life situation. A Liberian guy. I will not call your name, because if you want to come here under this government again, it will punish you. But it's a true story, I promise you. I just met him in Nairobi. I talked to him before. He made some money, successful young guy. I think he's in his 40s. He wanted to come to Liberia to do agriculture. He got the running around. He is in Kenya now. It's a true story. In Kenya now, doing agriculture in Kenya, Liberia, right? And couldn't do it in his own country because of all of it. Running around, that sort of stuff, right? We will change that. I don't think it's just talk. I don't think he understands what that means, what you need to do, what actions you need to take, how to hold the commerce minister accountable, the National Investment Commission, what they need to do to attract foreign investors, right? It will start with our foreign policy, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, all our embassies will have commercial people. Look, Ethiopia today, one of the reasons why they got a lot of problems, they had a civil war, etc. But they're one of the fastest growing economies, developing fast, right? The foreign policy is geared around economic growth and activity. That's what we'll do. We wanted to build a plant in Ethiopia. True story, Coca-Cola plant. When the foreign minister had a section, they said, leave it with us. They help us to all the local regulations, to acquire the land, all that sort of stuff to make it easy. for us, and the plant is up and running today in Ethiopia. So that's the kind of environment we create, and we know how to do it. And not just talk. Everybody got an area. The present area about football, my area, the private sector growth, creating jobs. That's what we know what to do, and that's what Liberia needs, and that's what we bring to our country.
That's what Liberia needs, and that's what we'll bring to our country. The voice of Mr. Alexander Cummings here with us in a conversation. So it's up to you, please.
Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Cummings, I'm going to go back to something I wanted to ask you, but then I lost my thought for a second. With regards to President Weah, when you mentioned his percentage when he was at his peak, if you will, when he was really popular, the highest was 30%, I guess.
38.
38%. Somebody could argue, well, at that time, Mr. Weah had mismanaged, lavished all the money he had. So he never had enough money to campaign, even though he had the popularity, but he never had the resources, enough resources to actually campaign. But now that they have, not only they have money, but they have the country money at their disposal with no accountability. They can use the money at will. Don't you think that could be an argument, or that could be area to focus on? Okay, maybe Weah may have been popular, but he never had the kind of resources he have right now. So because of having the money, the way they can use the money, because it's not their money, it's the country money, but they're using it right now. So don't you think that would be an added advantage to George Weah as opposed to depleting popularity or what have you?
No, look, I think that argument is really almost disrespectful to Liberian people. Money matters, Sekou, no question about it. Money matters in almost everything, including in campaigning. So it would make a little bit of a difference, but not much. I think that Liberian people, they would take Joe money and they would eat it because it's their money, and they know that. But Liberians have experienced, Sekou and Steve, they have experienced the president's incompetence, his inability to run the country. And they will not be fooled. Lack of formal education is not lack of intelligence. We are intelligent people. We are not dumb people. We're smart. I know that for a fact. I've lived and worked in many countries around Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, US, UK. You guys live in the US. You can hold your own with anybody in that country, right? So, yeah, they will spend more money. Liberian people eat the money and they shoot, right? But when Liberian people get in a vote, in a ballot box, nobody's going to audit their vote. They would do the right thing. They will vote to make this man a one-term president. If you guys come on the ground, you will feel the sentiment. People everywhere in the country, they are fed up. The suffering is palpable. That's right, palpable. I mean, it's real, right? Prices are higher than they were. Unemployment is higher. Civil servants are making less money, and they don't get paid regularly. These are facts. It's not coming saying these things, right? And one civil servant supports his family, his extended family, so that there's a multiplier effect. And then they see the big convoy, the big cars, people are riding, the president flying on private jets, the president going away from the country for 48 days to the World Cup and other jolly, right? So Liberian people are not fooled. They will spend more money, Sekou, you're right. And maybe for some people, it will influence them, but he has a record, and that record is not a good one. And therefore, it will not make a difference.
Okay, so Mr. Cummings, I want to say thank you very, very much for being here and for answering all of our questions, most of our questions, because we're not going to be able to get all the questions today. We will also open the line to take a few questions from our people. But before we go to the line, this election is one of the most important decisions in our lifetime as Liberians. This is our generation. And the Liberian people are counting on you people to change the direction of our country. Will you commit? And will you also persuade Mr. Boakai and even other major candidates that if unity means anything, let the opposition commit to say whoever make it to the second round, if Joria made it to the second round, whoever will go with George Weah to the second round, other political parties should collectively support that person. Can you commit to that? Can you also persuade other candidates, opposition? If at all you have any form of unity, it should be around that. At least, if at all there will be any form of unity within the opposition, let opposition commit to supporting each other or one person, whoever make it to the second round, if at all the person make it with George Weah. Can you commit to that?
Yes, I can commit to that. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to put any qualification around it. The answer is yes. Whether other people will do it or not, that's up to them. If you get GMB on your show or any other, aspirant candidate, you should ask them that question. But I can commit, and we'll persuade our people to support whoever makes it to the second round. But my only but is it's not a but, is just a fact that I will be that person in the second round. Because we will do the work, we will make the case. We have the experience for what Liberia needs at this time. Given the choices of candidates, I think we offer our people the best opportunity to grow the economy. Siku and Steve, the way I try to simplify, and I've said this on the show before, but let me repeat it again, because we probably got some people who maybe hear me for the first time, but they need to hear again. I described that we all eat from this bowl of rice. You guys have heard this. In this bowl of rice, you got good jobs, good education, good healthcare, investing in agriculture, good infrastructure. We need to grow that bowl of rice. We need to make that bowl of rice bigger, right? Meaning we need to create more opportunities for our people. And we need to guarantee everybody the right to put their hand in our bowl of rice. Because I remind all of you, I remind Liberians, you don't choose your tribe. You don't choose the tribe you're born. You don't choose whether you're Gola, Gio, Kram, Madingo, Loma, Grebo. Not your choice. You don't choose your gender, whether you're male or woman. You don't choose where you're born, what country you're born, Nima, Lofa, Bong, Maryland, Kitman. Those things you're not given. You don't choose a religion you're born into. Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, not your choice. Those things should not give an advantage or disadvantage or anybody else. And the Liberia I want us to build together is a Liberia where we're growing our bowl of rice, and everybody is guaranteed the right to put a hand in our bowl of rice, no matter where. The only thing that will stop you, I think, is you control. If you break the law, we're not letting you put your hand in the bowl of rice. If you steal, you kill, you rape, any other laws you break, we're not letting you put your hand in the bowl. But you have a choice. You can choose to do that or not. You can't choose whether you Gola, Christian, Congo, Madingo, Vai, not your choice. And then if you lazy, you will not eat much of the rice, but that's also up to you. If you industrious, you work hard, you eat more of the rice. We want a country that will guarantee everybody bring the same opportunity. What you do with the opportunity now is up to you. But you gotta follow the law. You gotta obey the rules if you don't want to eat. And I believe I can work with Liberians to make that bowl of rice bigger. We need to make that bowl of rice bigger, more jobs, better education, better healthcare, invest in agriculture, fix the infrastructure. Not overnight, not easily, but it can be done. Liberians will feel a difference. We will set the example. We'll work hard every day. We'll go to work on time. We'll not steal. And when people steal, we'll punish them. All of this big shot business, we'll get rid of it. You know who I am, we'll stop it. We'll all follow the rules. We'll all get in the line. Look, Liberians, you guys in the US, and Liberians will leave here, we'll go there, or we'll go to Ghana. Where? We don't follow the rules. Oh, Kenya, we don't follow the rules. Simple.
So you know what you know where I am too.
Everybody got to follow the
I
rule.
thought I said you don't know Harold Allah Abu Liberia. You know,
Yeah,
you know we're talking to, you know Abu
we
Dhabi.
know all, that Bishop business, all of that stuff we'll get rid of. But that's the
Okay.
Liberia we want. And that's why I'm confident. If we don't win in the first round, we'll go to the second round. But back to your question, I would support Joe Boyka, whoever else, get in the second round, and I hope they do the same.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. We're not going to start taking calls, but before we do, Steve, I want to make a quick announcement a quick update on the contribution. So I'm not using my other computer today because of the technical problem we have. So my phone that most of the information coming on is what I'm using right now to do the show. But based on the one that I saw coming, I think we already besides the first few $25 that I talk about, we have had about altogether right now we have about $375 already. Since Mr. Cummings spoke. Before he spoke, it was only $20. Only $25 actually. But since then, some of them even now when they contributed, but they're saying I'm doing it because of my leader. Because I read some of the comment that came on the news other phone. But the other phone that I have most of the information, I can't log into it because right now that's what I'm using to do the show. But we'll give further update. But based on the one that I saw coming, because when it comes, you can get this message. The one I get this message registered here is about $375 already. I want to say thank you to all the donors. We appreciate it, and we appreciate you, Mr. Cummings. We already have Kosti, but I want to go to you first. After that, we have Sidiki Kurma calling from all the way Liberia. He wants to contribute. So he will be, I think he will be the first caller whenever we're ready to take a call.
Yes, we just want to lay the ground rules for the calls. Get straight to the point, please. We don't have enough time, unfortunately. Please get straight to the point. You will have 30 seconds, to make your point so that we can have more callers to interact with Mr. Cummings. And we'll take as much questions as we can take from Mr. Cummings.
But we don't have 15 minutes from here, though. So we'll take 5 minutes to take your call. 5 minutes only.
Right. That's why they have 30 seconds
so
each.
Whoever calls will get 30 seconds to speak.
Right. So please, let's get to the calls and let's get it rolling.
All right. Let's get Sidiki here. Sidiki from Liberia, I believe. Sidiki Kruma, are you there?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, you're live. What's your question for Mr. Cummings?
Good evening to Steve, and good evening to our next president, Mr. Rizal Cummings. Thank you very much, Mr. Cummings. Thank you for you have been consistent with your messaging, and that's why some of us we have sacrificed our time, our energy, our everything to reach out to places that you cannot reach to make the case for you. And we are with you. Don't think that you are alone, Mr. Cummings. The young people are with you in this struggle. We will liberate our country. We will get our country on track. Like you always said, we the young people, we the Liberian people, we don't deserve to beg people to live. We deserve to work hard. We deserve to pay our own house rent, to pay our own school fees. And that is why we are on. Right now, it's not easy, but we are with you, Mr. Cummings. Thank you very much for your message. And we are into this. Liberia shall win, and you shall be our next president comes on to 10. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sidiki.
Next caller. This is Prince. So call the guy. You can call other number to Steve. That one is with Steve. So Steve, both numbers are there. So this is Prince, right?
Yeah.
Prince, how you doing, my brother? What's your question for Mr. Cummings?
Thank you very much. Honorable Cummings, I believe you're the next president of Liberia. But I'm also on the record of saying that you and Joseph Walker and other opposition, that you guys are coward. And I say you guys are coward because you guys are not standing up to this government in ways that it will create the force that is necessary in order to avert this government deliberate action of trying to undermine our democracy and threaten the peace of Liberia. The census is an indication. The national budget is an indication. And the deliberate arrogance of President Weah and his surrogates, and you guys are not even forcefully standing up to us. That's why I say you guys are coward. Do you agree with me? You guys are coward. And if not, what are you guys going to do in order to challenge this national census
Thank you.
Based on the census, it is indicated that we are expecting still the election by balloting and the counties that he won in 2017. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Call, I think this is a Labrador call, I'm not sure, but I think it has a Labrador number. Caller, what is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yeah, last 4 digit is 7843. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, you're live.
Yeah, hello. My name is Rodney Wilson.
Rodney Wilson, where are you calling from?
Rodney Wilson.
Where are you calling from, Rodney?
Hello?
Yes, listen to your phone. Don't listen to the monitor.
Yeah, I'm listening to the phone.
Okay, yeah, what is your, where are you calling from?
Anyway, I'd like to say good evening to your panelists and to Mr. Cummings.
Go ahead.
First, I want to congratulate him on the direction which he's heading. You know, one of the biggest problems we have in this country is the economy and the job. And I like the analogy he gave between him and the current president. There's something happened on yesterday in the Mantua market. I don't want to be quick about it. The market women had an open forum and discussing how things are difficult using loudspeakers. And one of the ladies that we met around about 2:30, she said the entire day we were the first person to ask her how much for this, how much for that. It just goes to show.
Get to the point. We got limited time, please.
My brother, please.
So the point I'm driving at is Mr. Cummings' point about creating jobs and bettering the economy is the foremost and most important thing here. And I want to encourage all Liberians to look in that direction. So, Mr. Cummings, you're on the right track, and job is what we need. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, caller, what is your name and where are you calling from?
I think Siku. Let me take this call. Real quick. Caller, what's your name?
My name is Joseph Conto.
Yeah, Joseph Conto, go ahead, please. 30 seconds.
And I'm called to speak to Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings, it's great seeing you. I'm your supporter. I've been supporting you since 2016.
Who is that?
That has to do with the leadership. As you forget your attention, because most often people accuse you of things that are happening maybe you don't know. My question is, the ANC and the CPP right now, our problem, what I observed that we are having problem with coordinated messaging. And I had an experience with one of the leadership, one of the chairperson, especially.
Joseph, you got 30 seconds. You got 30 seconds, please. Let's take enough call. Please get to the point, please.
Sorry? He probably excuse you that you are making the job very difficult because you're not living up to your promises to them who are chairing the different ANC branches.
Thank you.
Mr. Cummings, what are you going to do to have this the process taken care of so that people can be able to get your message across the country? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please? You got 30 seconds.
Hi, this is Eunice. I want to say hi to Mr. Cummings. I'm your #1 female supporter in Phoenix, Arizona. I want to go directly to the point. It's a little different from your topic. I want to know your thoughts on the Stephen Waterspoon case because he was one of those that went vigorously after you doing your court case in Liberia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Let's get this call really quick. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please?
Yeah, hi. My name is Charles Kelly.
Charles Kelly. What's your point, Charles?
Yeah, I want to know how will Mr. Cummings tell me go and register for the parliamentary vote? What time later can he be able to have what is not 18 years?
You said you want to determine.
I didn't hear.
Go
Sorry.
back, you're talking low. Can you please come to the
How
phone?
will Mr. Cummings be able to know if the underage goes and vote for the parliamentary, go and register for the parliamentary and vote for the election?
Okay. How will
How will he get to know?
Okay. How will you determine if an underage person votes in the election or registers to vote?
Yeah.
Okay. Sekou, go ahead. I think Sekou.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of calls here, Steve. So I think we'll get a few more calls and then we'll call it a day because the lines are jamming up. I can't even able to. Let me see here. Oh my God, people not giving me a chance. They person that was speaking. Okay, they person calling from London. Are you there?
Yeah. I'm right here, Sekou. I'm right here.
Okay, is this Albert Taylor?
Correct.
Albert Taylor, go ahead quickly. 30 seconds.
Yeah,
Please.
Mr. Cummings, how are you? We know the current state of affairs of the country.
Please speak louder a little bit.
We know that the country faces a great security risk, and because of that, we have not been able to attract investors in the country. What will you do to attract investors in terms of security situation and restructuring the entire security apparatus so investors will feel safe to come to Liberia and invest and offer jobs and opportunity for our people? Because we know the United States government and the international community has warned people not to do business in Liberia or to do business with certain individuals in Liberia due to the security situation the country faces at the moment. So what will you be doing to restructure the entire apparatus for our citizens and the international community to feel safe?
Thank you.
Investment?
Thank you so much. Okay.
I got a call here.
To be honest with you, I can't even keep up. Hold on.
Let me get this call. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please?
My name is Venton Hooks. I'm calling from Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa. Go ahead, Venton Oaks.
Yes, Mr. Cummings, as we all know, the economy of Liberia is extremely underdeveloped. But looking at your 40 years of experience in international business, what are some of your key strategies and a plan you have to resuscitate the Liberian economy in order for our people to actively be working and be less dependent on people in the diaspora for daily survival?
Thank you so much for daily survival.
Thank you. You should take. I should take one more.
Yeah, take one more, and I'll take the last person. Oops, Sekou left. Sorry, guys. Sekou has some serious technical problems today. Let me take the last one.
They're still doing it. Oh my gosh.
Yes, sir.
Victor, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, what's your question for Mr. Cummings?
Yeah, good day, Mr. Cummings. I'm happy to speak to you. But Mr. Cummings, you always say that you want to become president to serve us, we the Liberian people. But we the Liberian people are so desperate right now. We are desperate in the sense that we want you guys in the opposition to find a way to come together and defeat the CDC in the first round so that we can put our country back on track. Can you guys do that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Yes, I have a caller here. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please?
Steve, this is just Cindy. Headed to you and April and Mr. Cummings. I have a question for you. A lot of us bought our ticket to come home and support you and support the Liberian people in December. And then the dates of registration were changed. I mean, just for information for the country and everyone else, what is the new date, if at all, and what does the schedule look like? And what do you say to the Liberian people at this point? Is it okay for the Liberian people to come, especially those who support you? Do you need a support on the ground, or do you just need a financial support? So if you will speak to that for me, please. And another thing is, it is believed that education and literacy rate and nation GDP are directly correlated. How are you going to change Liberia? They're telling me to start yet. How will you encourage that education or literacy?
My direct number.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Well, we'll allow Mr. Cummings to answer these questions. Guys, your call keeps coming, please. And please just hold on. Let Mr. Cummings answer these questions, and we'll go from there. Mr. Cummings, is up to you.
Yeah, so let me first of all throw a disclaimer here that Steve and Sekou asked for 2 hours. I give them 2 hours, 6 to 8.
Yeah.
And so I'm not rushing off this time, Steve, right? But I gotta have another meeting here at 8. Maybe next time you guys should give your callers more time.
Yes.
So we can hear from them. But so I will try to answer all of them. If we go a little past 8 o'clock, that's okay too. My next group not coming until 8:15. So there was a caller that said on the census we're being cowards. And what I would say to the gentleman is that, at least speaking for myself, I can't speak for anybody else. We are waiting until we get the details of the census before we react, before we comment on it. I think it will be irresponsible just to start condemning it without getting the facts and the details. We have suspicions, by the way, because we know for a fact that there were so many problems with the census. I was on my way to Turi in District 1. I was stopped, they blocked the road, the census stickers, because they said they weren't being paid, they didn't get that per dime. So that happened all over the country. And then all of a sudden, the government said, oh, it was perfect, and they want to put this nice rainbow around the census. So let me go on record as saying, look, we have some concerns about the census, about the integrity of the census, but we want to wait till we get the facts, and then we'll make a more informed decision, more informed reaction. The census was 5 years late. That's violation by itself. Constitutionally, it should have happened in 2018. So don't make these assertions, call us cowards. Let's all get the facts. And then when we say the census is bad or is rigged, we have a factual basis for reacting to that. There was a question, lots of questions around the economy. I would combine all of it on the economy, creating jobs, how we attract investors, giving security, how we resurrect the economy. So again, everybody got an area, right? Joe, we are area that football. Although even then, you would think that our national team would be doing well. We have, sports academies. We have sent some young players to different academies, even in his area. The country FC. But anyway, my area is the economy. My area is private sector. My area is creating jobs, and it's a combination of things we will do. One, the person talked about, and I mentioned earlier, we make sure the security environment, that people feel safe in their homes, in their communities, they're going out at night. We'll make sure the police is professionalized, the whole security sector. We get Liberian professionals, we give them the tools, the resources to do their jobs, to protect citizens. We're not politicizing, we're not targeting anybody. We got to create the right environment. We got to make the judiciary working, that when people have disputes and problems, they will get a fair hearing. We'll make sure we stop the stealing so we can invest in Liberian businesses. We'll make sure our regulations are competitive with others in the region, so that we're not over-regulating to attract investors. So we'll create the right environment. Then we'll invest in agriculture so that we can transition to an agro-based economy like Ivory Coast or Ghana in the region, right? We'll invest in ecotourism. We got 350 miles of beautiful beaches, we got rainforests, we got waterfalls, so we invest in ecotourism to create jobs, right? So these are all examples of things we'll do to attract. We import everything we consume today. We'll make sure Liberians participate in that importation, because anybody can import. It's arithmetic. It's not algebra. You import for $5, you sell for $6, whatever it is. Liberians can do that. We'll make sure that happens. We'll provide credit facilities, micro loans to Liberian businesses, to Liberian market women, to Liberian motorcyclists, Liberian small business people. That's how we'll grow the economy, reduce the dependence on foreigners and even on Liberians in the diaspora. So those are all examples of things we'll do to resurrect the economy. We'll pay civil servants, teachers, police people, we'll pay them a living wage. When you reduce the wage of the people at the top, the legislature, today, between the president, the vice president, the speaker, the deputy speaker, they take more money than almost anybody else. We'll change that. We'll work with the legislature to change that, and we'll pay people more. When you pay people more, 20, 30, 40, 100, $200 more a month, they will spend it around the country. It will stimulate economic activity. They will buy more pepper, more billboard, more rice. So that's on the economy. There was a question about from Eunice. She says she's my number one supporter in Phoenix, Arizona. Eunice, thank you. There was a question about Stan Witherspoon. Look, let's get the facts. Let the U.S. judiciary system work. I'm not here to, dance on anybody's grave, to wish anybody ill. He has been accused. Um, what I know of the U.S. judicial system, they are very thorough when they do these things. They don't win all of the cases, by the way. So let the process run its course. What I will say that is that I would not be in that situation. My money was legitimately and legally earned. Um, I retired honorably in 2016 from the Coca-Cola company after 19, almost 20 plus years. Everything about me and my wealth is public. I ran in 2017. I'm running again. So nobody should have any fear that somehow I will be in that same situation. I would not. Uh, Everything I've earned was earned legitimately, was earned publicly. But we wish Stanton well, and hope the best for him and his family, and let the U.S. legal process run its course. There was a question, Steve, about underage voters. Look, the fact that it's biometric or manual, the process to determine whether somebody underage or not will be the same. Meaning you gotta produce some form of ID card. There's some kind of process that would determine whether you're eligible to vote. And so whether it's biometric or whether it's manual, the determination process will be similar, I assume. There was a question about opposition unity. I think I addressed that during the course of our discussion, Steve, that look, we're open to working together on the census, on elections integrity. We were in, we are still in the CPP. That's why we came together. Two parties decided to leave. They're welcome to come back. So we're very open to opposition unity. But at the end of the day, it's likely anything is possible in politics. There will be three main candidates, and George Weah will be a one-term president. I shouldn't be afraid of that. It will happen. 38% I speak. He has a record to defend. Listen to me, please. Don't. That's CDC propaganda. Don't let that bother you. Liberians are determined that this man will not go back in office because he has performed so badly. And not because I say so, because the reality of the feeling on the ground, the sense. People can't afford 3 meals. Maybe they only do 2 or 1 or 1.5. Those things are real. Liberians are not going to put him back. Yasini asked about voter registration. Voter registration starts on March 20th and it ends on May 11th. Those are the dates. Those dates, I do not believe will change. They cannot change because I don't know if a sickle or Steve asked about elections not happening, elections got to happen. That means the NEC got to hit those dates. So all Liberians who can afford to, we encourage you to come register and then come back in October and vote. So it starts March 20th. It's being done in 2 phases. Phase one from March 20th to April 9th. So if you want to register in Monserrato, Mount Gibby, Grand Bassa, Bomi, Grand Kidman, and Bapalu, March 20th to April 9th. If you want to register in River Cess, Sino, Grand Cru, Maryland, River G, Grand Jide, Nima, Pong, Lofa, April 21st to May 11th. Those are the dates for voter registration. And I want to encourage Liberians in the diaspora who can afford it to come and register to vote. Don't be on the sidelines. Say to Liberians as well. If you can't register to vote, you can't help. And if you pick your side, you pick a side. That's your decision. I hope you pick me, but it's pick your side, but register. Because you don't register, you cannot help me, you cannot help Joe Walker, you cannot help anybody else. So come register and vote. And those are the dates: March 20th to April 9th, phase 1, April 21st to May 11th, phase 2. And I think this last question was on education. Critical that we invest in education. Within education, we got priorities. So we will not try to fix everything overnight, right? We'll focus on teachers training at all levels. If you don't have good university teachers, professors, or good high school teacher, professor, or good middle school, or elementary or primary, you will not have good students. So we want to invest in teachers, pay them well, train them well, so that they can impart the right knowledge, education. We want to focus on vocational training, technical skills, I like cars. I like cars, right? And the reason why I use that example, in the German educational system, they got 2 tracks. You can go to traditional university, become a lawyer, doctor, whatever you want to do, business person. You can go the technical route. You can become, plumber, carpenter, mechanic, electrician, dietitian, whatever, right? We want to offer those 2 tracks, and we want to make sure we invest in vocational training because that's great jobs. We want librarians to benefit from that. And then the other area we focus on education is adult education. Make sure we make it easier for adults to get educated, to create an environment, to take the shame away, to make sure people can go to night school, night classes, to get skills and training. 3 areas we'll focus on. But education is foundational to the future of our country and our people. Let me conclude, guys, by saying thanks for this opportunity to come and talk to you. We'll do it a few more times, I'm sure, before elections. Let me encourage your voters, your audience, my voters, I hope, your audience to contribute to this platform, and not just tonight, but subsequent nights. Nothing in life is free. I remind people, there was a American economist, Milton Friedman, who used to use this: there's no free lunch. Somebody pays somewhere along the way. And this service that Sekou and Steve are providing is not free. So let's all support them. I encourage that. And let me say that.
So I wanted to update why you were here, why before you leave. So the last time we updated, guys, was about $370. And we're $375 now. We are at $470. 470, because some of the things that the one that passed, I didn't catch them. So that's why I went off. I look at everything one by one and I look at the total. So people donated $470 on both Zelle and Catch App. I want to say thank you to everybody who donated to SKTV. We really appreciate it.
So I hope before I get up in the next 60 seconds, it gets at least a nice round 500.
But when you come, we'll let you know.
And even more. But look, finally, I want Liberians to be, as difficult as it is, to be optimistic about our country, about our people. We are good people, we're smart people, resilient, we're tough. We will get through this next 8 months of this failed administration, and come January 2024, we will turn a new leaf on our country. We'll restore good governance to Liberia. We'll restore economic growth that is inclusive, that touches everybody. We want economic policies that will touch the motorcyclists, will touch the farmers, will touch the teachers, the nurses. We want them to see a difference in their lives. The young people of Liberia, we want to touch the quote-unquote Zogos. We need to find a better, more appropriate way to describe that population. But inclusive economic growth is what we will work towards. It will happen. It can happen. But you got to register. You got to vote. You got to participate. And then we'll change Liberia. So thank you, gentlemen. God bless you all. God bless Liberia.
So Mr. Cummings, before you go, for our audience, I got beaten by a lot of people right now. When I went off, people were still calling me. They're angry that we didn't give them enough time to call into so they can talk to their political leader. And one of my good friends even blasted me. What kind of platform is this? People can't have time to talk to their political leader. I have to apologize to him. And he stayed not satisfied. So please, I want you to commit to come back at least, if not next week, the following week, so we can have enough time to have a conversation with the people. It's very important.
No, look, Sekou, I will come back. Next time we should split it 2 hours, 1 hour for you two.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 1 hour for the audience.
And we give a whole hour. We give a whole hour to your questioners. But yeah, we haven't finalized it yet. But I might be in the U.S. sometime in March, and that might be a good time because then the time zone will be so sometime in March. Whenever we finalize it, my commitment to you and the audience is that we'll schedule sometime in March when I'm in the U.S. For us to come back on the air.
So, folks, when they say March that next month, we're already in the 20 something. So don't say that 4 months from now, that next month, it could be next week, it could be a week after next, it could be in 3 weeks. So please, don't be angry. You have time, and you will talk to Mr. Cummings. So, Mr. Cummings, thank you very much. Here we will always get to you, and as always, you always respond to us. And you'll be expecting our call again next month, and so you can come here and talk to your people. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Steve, I don't know, man. If suppose they want to call and they can talk to you myself, I don't know. I mean, how much more time we have.
Well, we can allocate maybe 10 more minutes just to get reaction.
Okay. I'm going to go off of 1 second. I want to get something real quick.
Sure. Well, folks, there you have it. You've heard from Mr. Cummings. You're more than welcome to call in for a minute. Please, we're not going to make a long story. Get to the point. 1 minute each. Post-interview comments. I believe Mr. Cummings' team is still following, even though he's not on, but members of the team is still following. People from the ANC are still following. You're more than welcome to call. Let me post the number. I think the number was posted in here by someone. Let me post the number really quick. The Liberian people will decide, as we've said. We are following a lot of different things. There are some things that you can't say. You can just leave it alone. But again, the Liberian people are following. Let me put this up there. So I gotta take off. Okay, I think I gotta put this in place of that. Give me a second, guys. Let's put this number in. Please give me a second. Let me put a number in here so that you can have the opportunity to call. Feel free. I see a lot of my friends are commenting. A lot of my men are commenting yet. The high men are commenting. As we get close to the elections, we are looking forward to having some very serious conversations. Okay, that's the number to call in there. Call that number. We took off the Cash App number. Many of you know it already. Call that number. I think the last number, which is the Zelle number as well, is on there. You can call that one via WhatsApp. Or call those numbers and you should be able to get on. Any feedback from what you heard from Mr. Cummings? We look forward to having Mr. Cummings back on at his convenience, his own timing. We'll get through this. So far, we heard lots of different things about the positions. We've heard from Mr. Cummings. We've wondered on this show as to communications. We are one of the people that came out here and called Mr. Cummings and his entire team out for the level of communication. We did, and we can't shy away from it. These are things that we'll do. We will hold every political leader accountable, but Mr. Cummings took some responsibility of the communication levels and so forth. So you're more than welcome to participate into the conversation. Let's bring Sekou back on here. Sekou, what do you make of the show? Let's get reaction.
A lot of people calling. Let's talk to them. Let's get them a chance to talk. Then we can say a few things after. How about that?
Yes, I see Raymond Gray say you are infinite, but he didn't call.
Who?
Okay. Raymond Gray.
Remy Gray?
Remy Gray said you were here, but he didn't call. That one you pay fan.
That one we're not seeing.
No, we pay fan.
The animal can't finish and call. Hold on. I got call from Australia here. Let me see here. Hello, caller. Is this caller from Australia?
Yeah.
All right. Please close your monitor and talk to your phone. Talk through the phone.
All right. We can put the monitor. Yeah, I'm going to do the monitor.
Yeah, please tune down the monitor. Just, you can tune it down a little bit so we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you are live. What's your name? What's your name? I think you're calling from Australia. I don't want to ask where you're calling from, but what is your name?
My name is Desmond.
Your voice is low. Nobody can hear you.
Yeah, I said my name is Desmond Finley, and I'm calling from Australia.
All right, Desmond, go ahead quickly.
Yeah, I listened to the show. The funny thing is, I'll ask somebody about how it. I'm off now.
Yeah, you're live. I didn't hear. I didn't hear the statement. You said what? The funny thing is what?
As I was asking you guys on the show for the number when I had your phone number saved.
You have my phone number saved, but you sorry. Okay, no problem. Next time, Mr. Cummings will be here in 2 weeks.
No, it's not even that. It's not important. The fact that I got you guys on the phone. I just want to express some things that when you like everything Mr. Cummings talked about today was most of the times we make mistakes, we have knee-jerk reaction as Liberians, right? I feel like that's why we say Liberian get 3 days news cycle because we get knee-jerk reaction to news. We don't investigate the news and we want reaction from it just to satisfy that way that we feel right now, but we don't follow through. And the reason why I'm saying this, I'm speaking to the fact that Prince was calling Mr. Cummings and other people cowards without understanding where the people going or where the intent is. That's why you ask what's going on before laying the insult. And, and that was kind of shocking to me that Prince did that, but Prince is Prince. And if we start to think holistically to take it to the end, like we'll be better for it. But that needs you have to actually, like when we saw the Senate report came out, the first thing I said, like, oh, you know, you're trying to tell me they have more children in grand crew than they have, it's a knee-jerk reaction, but it's not nothing that we can actually receive to do anything about. So taking things holistically and acting on it to the end result, that was good. And Mr. Cummings' response to when you talk about the justices, I enjoy that response because I think the way the question was asked, it was put in a place where like, oh, you can't get nothing from this job. We are good. You know, we are one of the people. You have to give people credibility to make decisions when the time is there, and I think he handled himself well.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we have another caller here. Caller, what is your name and where are you calling from? 1595. What is your name and where are you calling from?
We have another caller here.
Huh? Hey,
The
caller, I'm hearing myself. Can you tune down the monitor?
Yeah, hello?
Yes. What is your name and where are you calling from?
Me, my name is
Mark Curtis. Hi.
Curtis.
Okay, Trinidad D. Curtis. Okay, D. Curtis, how you doing, my brother?
I got one request.
You got one what?
One request.
Go ahead, sir.
I want for you to rebrand this SKTV and remove Steve Bully from on the platform.
Oh, rebrand it and remove Steve Bully?
Yes.
Okay, I get, but we're not get Steve Bully. We're not get Mose.
Yeah, okay, yeah, all I need. So just print the name and the correction and the phone number.
Okay, no problem. No problem. We'll rebrand.
All right, thank you.
But you must be willing to step in though.
No. I'm just sure to step into anything right now. I just want it off the platform.
Oh, but me, I can't handle it myself.
No, you handle it. There's no situation you can't handle. The only person that don't have a situation I'm more
Me, I can't handle the situation. All right, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. So the only person I can't handle the situation I'm more Ali.
I got a caller here.
Go ahead.
Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please? 1 minute.
Oh, this is Zinan D. Doa in a call from South Dakota.
Yeah, Zina, can you put some? Can you put some?
I'm talking, listen.
Can you please put some volume in your voice, Zina, please?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
So, after I step back and listen to Mr. Cummings, he's making some really good points. But some of us would love a little bit more detailed answer to some of these questions. So, for example, they ask him, some of the questions they ask him, he said about what he's going to do, how you going to create jobs, you're going to increase the teacher salary, all the good stuff. But sometimes about what you will do, about how. Because anybody can say what they will do. So we
going to do this thing? So I want to hear a little bit more how he's going to create jobs in his answers, not just what he will do. So for example, look at mental steel. Mental steel taking 15 million tons of iron for our country. Are we going to use mental steel to start creating car engines? Because that's the how.
Right.
Firestone taking all the rock, bringing it to North Carolina. We're riding Firestone tires, pretty soon. Firestone tires, those are our rubber. You're going to create a job. What are you going to do with Firestone? Are we going to start making rubber? What are we going to do with the gold, the iron ore? What are we going to do with the rubber? We need to know how, not just what. Because that's how you know what our dealer got wisdom. When they explain the mechanics they're going to use to create jobs. How you going to increase teacher salary? Where you going to get the money from? We don't know how. We need more detailed answers from these guys, though. Well, I will sit back and listen, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me take a few calls here. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, caller, what is your name and where are you calling from? 404 number.
Yes. Hi, Steve. Hi, Sekou. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Marie Frank. I always follow you guys and I follow Steve on your tennis show. Thank you so much for the interview today. I enjoyed the interview. But
thank you.
You know, like my grandma used to say, when you don't know better, when you don't know better, you will do better. You said my aunt would say that point. Everybody asks normal question, but Prince had to put his sauce in it. Because I know he wasn't asking questions, he was waiting to come out to insult Mr. Cummings. You know, that's the same thing he went on. I don't know what his name was. That Christian show the other day. He said he tried to insult this lady, and this lady caught him for his private part. And his child was in the car, and he couldn't stop. So they were cutting all his down to his private part the other day. I told him Steve there because I know Steve said he don't have time for beautiful nonsense. But I saw it in his face, like he wanted to say something that he didn't say. But then I was just wanted to say, thank you so much for the interview. Most of the interview, I think the questions I wanted to ask, a lot of the people, answering for the education and the other thing, the police registration. So I just want to say you're doing a good job. So I was somehow going to
Oh, thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for Prince. He like a Facebook prostitute.
Oh, no. Don't say that. Don't call him like that. Yeah. No, Prince. Prince. Maybe he misspoke today, but Prince be one of the people that be around. I never heard you insulting before.
I mean, he America, I think he needs to take a lot of courses for education. He lack of education.
All right, thank you.
So,
thank you, Mama. Thank you. It's okay. It's okay now. That Mr. Cummings did well with the interview, so it's okay.
I know he did. He
Yeah.
did. Everybody else asked a good question. He did, but he had to insult. He put an insult there. That wasn't a question. A normal person would say that wasn't a normal question. He meant to do what he did. He got to insult.
But the man is a Cummings supporter, though.
What?
The man is a Cummings. He supports Mr. Cummings.
I know you support Mr. Cummings because you support something that he can't insult the person.
Maybe he misspoke. I think he was calling, but that time I was using the restroom. No, the man will call it. Maybe he was going to rectify what he said earlier, but maybe he will call back.
Yeah, he need to say something because that's very respectful. And he need to remember that women born him. How will you see every time you look at somebody insulting his wife or his sister or his daughter?
Is that a woman? I don't know. We're talking about Cummings or talking about somebody else? Another one?
No, I'm talking about Steve. I'm sorry, I'm talking about Prince.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I understand. All right, no problem.
Thank you so much for the interview.
All right,
I'm
Mama.
looking forward to the other one, but I'm following you guys all the time.
For sure. Thank you, Mama. Thank you very much.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right, let's go to Sekou Dukle from Phoenix. Sekou, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Mama, I apologize, man. We couldn't get you through while Mr. Cummings was here. We got a lot of calls coming. My phone was so jammed up, I couldn't even, keep up with the calls. I apologize.
It's fine. You put too important. Mr. Cummings, I have to be in a situation we can say talk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's our political leader. Sometimes we have have the opportunity to talk to him?
Go ahead.
He's our political leader. If we have the opportunity to come on the big platform like SKTV, like you don't have a chance to talk to that political leader, ask some questions because we don't want to make mistake again, bringing people, the wrong people into power. So if sometimes you bring the kind of big caliber of people on your platform, you know, and we want to talk to them, others like Trump want to speak to their political leader to know what they will be doing for the country. So it's very important. So let me just go what I would try to recommend to Mr. Cummings while you're in your studio. I wanted to recommend the visa waiver program for Nigerians who want to travel to the U.S. And my research showed me was 150 countries can come here without visa. Just get a letter and got somebody that you fly here. You don't need to wait long for visa. So if he would add that to his campaign agenda, it will help him to promote his campaign across the country in Nigeria because the child in Nigeria was born to the asking where you want to go when you go up. You want to say America, Nigeria, we say
Hold. My man, hold the line.
Country around the world. It's not hard for that brother to get the kind of privilege, but because we have bad leadership, so we can't get some of this visa waiver program on Nigeria. 5 million people can come there. You need 60,000 like brother come here every year to work. It will help Nigeria to grow. So it was that recommendation I was trying to tell you. But when he come back March, I got a question for him. I got 2 questions for him when he come back. But
He coming by March. He coming by in 2 weeks.
Yeah, no problem. When you come back March, I got a question for him. 2 questions. But this is recommendation to him to add it to the campaign agenda.
No problem. All right, my brother. Thank you so much. Thank you for your contribution, as always.
Okay.
All right. So I think Prince is calling back. Let's go to Prince. Prince, you called back earlier. I was on a short break, so I missed the call. How are you again?
Thank you very much, Sigrid. Thank you so much for the privilege. And thanks so much for allowing me to call back just to follow up with my question that I asked Mr. Cummings and to also reflect on his response. I stand by my question. It was deliberate. I don't have no regret. I met Mr. Cummings before. I support him. I do still support him. When I met him, the conversation he and I have, personal conversation we have, is consistent with my approach and me holding him accountable as the next president of Liberia. I don't care whoever thinks and what they feels. That's the business. Okay? Coward, to be a coward is not an insult. It's a state of mind. A lot of things can put you into being a coward. I know the country the way it is, the insecurity, the lack of leadership, and the threats on people's life can put them in the state of being a coward. That's not an insult.
So were you satisfied with his answer to your question?
I am satisfied with. That's why I call. I didn't call because of all the people talking or that lady that on the line, insinuation or whatever she's saying, her opinion. I call because I am very much grateful that maybe perhaps the Liberian people should know what leadership and temperament is all about. Cummings' response was brilliant. It tells me that he has temperament and he has what it takes to lead our country right now, our traumatized country, our abused country, and our highly charged emotional country. So I'm very grateful that he answered the question where he answered it, not because of me, so that a lot of people who are watching to know that these guys, Honorable Cummings, to bring a new dimension of leadership. Imagine Jefferson Coaching, they will be tomorrow, they will be the next opposition. We are going to be the next opposition. The CDC today, that here today, will be the next opposition. They will be demonstrating 24/7. They will be calling Cummings all sorts of names. And if he does not have the temperament he has exhibited today in response to my question, then will probably be a lot of trouble. But I'm glad he's a self-kind person.
Thank you.
It is not strange to me. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No problem, man. Thank you. So I think we should call it a day, Steve. We're almost 2 hours 30 minutes.
Yes, I'm ready to go. I think
It's up to you, man. You got everything. I'm just like a guest today.
No, we're good. We're good to go. I think in my view we had a good time.
I think we had a great show. Yeah, you asked me. Let me just say that before we go. If there were any news today, I think Mr. Cummings gave a breaking news. by committee. By
So
committee.
what kind of leader call them, Benny, because we'll go into cycles
No,
again.
no,
Yeah.
no. That call is overseas. Let's take. I think this is from. Yeah, this is overseas. This is a call from. I think it's from Europe. From I don't know. Yeah. Hello.
Let me just help you.
Is this Abra again?
Yeah, let me just help you. You call it. Let me just help you.
Help who?
Car wash. Someone say car wash.
You say want to help with the guy? You want to help Prince? Yeah, but your voice is very low. You gotta speak a little louder. Just briefly.
That person is lacking courage.
Yeah.
All right. When you tell somebody that person is a coward, that person is lacking courage. That's the definition of a coward. So how can you say you support someone and then, on the other hand, you tell the individual that he's lacking courage? It was wrong. It was unacceptable for someone to address another individual who has come on your show to speak to the people of Liberia, and you have someone on the other hand using unacceptable languages towards someone. But let me continue by saying we hope that we will have a peaceful electoral process. We hope that everything will be free, fair, and transparent, and that people can regain the trust in the political leaders and in the next government. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We appreciate it. All right, my man. So yeah, so I think there was a breaking news that Cummings said he's committed, and he asking us now we should ask this other person question if they can commit. I know he has said it. I don't know whether or not we got Joseph Walker here, but we got the opportunity to ask any other political leader on this platform who will ask the same question. If unity means anything, can they commit to supporting each other against the current government? If any of them say yes, we'll put them on record. Whoever reply otherwise, we'll also put them on record. So I think that's what I have to say, Steve. I think it was a great show. Good job.
Yes, Mr. Cullen, thank you so much. To the listeners and the viewers, we want to say sorry.
Get me out of there, please.
Eh?
Take me off. I gotta go.
To the listeners and the viewers, we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for the time. Unfortunately, we have to go. 2 hours 30 minutes sitting in one place sometimes is difficult. And today's Sunday, a lot of things has to be done. Oh, we want to say thank you. Thank you so much for always being here. I have a quick announcement from our end. Starting off March, I might not be on Facebook. I got some stuff I got to take care of behind closed doors. I will be on Messenger, however. I might not be too active on Messenger, but if I can, I'll respond to you. If you have my direct number you want to reach me, fine. If not, you can wait when I get back on Facebook. I have some stuff I got to take care of. So I will not be active on Facebook. Starting off the 1st of March, my account will be disabled for a while. I don't know when I'm coming back, but I have to take care of some stuff. I'll be on the show. I might not be on other shows. You might not see me on Yasoni show. I got to take care of some stuff before I get back into the election vibe. I just wanted to make sure I give you the courtesy to announce that. I'll write it on my Facebook page. Again, I have some stuff to take care of, so I might be gone for a little bit. I'm taking a sabbatical. I'll be gone for a little bit. You can reach me on Messenger if I answer. If you reach me, I don't answer, please don't take it personal. I'm just busy. I'm just busy doing something. I have to do this. But I'll be back though. That's for a fact. I will be back. That I know. So I'll be in touch. I'll be on SKTV. That I know. I'll be on SKTV. I'm not going for SKTV. You'll see me in the regular time. I'm working on something. Hopefully when it gets through, you could probably see me now Monday through Sundays on the show. So it depends on, it depends on what's going on. Somebody say I'm going to meet President Weah. No, man. President Weah, no, man. Don't meet President Weah for what now? I think President Weah, I got nothing to say. President Weah started to do the right thing. I'll meet with him. President Weah continue the way he's going. And I want to meet with him because I'm not going to lie for him. I'm not going to talk for him. If we're going to meet anybody, I will talk it in advance. And I get no secret. And the thing we're talking in the meeting there, I will talk it. I will say straightforward. It can be secret, especially if it's in the library. If President Weah want for all of me to go to some kind of party and just chill, and I want to have a different thing. But you have to deal with the Liberian people. You can rest assured that I will come back and tell you exactly what the meeting was. More likely, so I will make it public so that people can know. So I'll be going for a little bit, but again, I'll be on Messenger. I know why I'm going. I will get some insight on some things. Unfortunately, I will not be already on Facebook. I will not be already on Facebook, but I have to, I have to do that as of the 1st of March. You will not see the page Moses. Or if you see it, it will not be active. You tag me anything, that's fine. I will not respond. I will not reply. I'm not disrespecting anybody. I just have to get myself together and do what I need to do. Somebody said Moses just remains with the ANC. Man, remember ANC, we are not get no party, brother. We will not get party that all year. That already, brother. And I get no party. And I eat no party. I the only one I stay holding all the party then. All the party that I'm member of them. So yes. So please, just so you know, we'll be here and we'll know what's going on. Oh, you leave me, man. Just, preferably Pajibo, leave me alone, man. I know you get me out today. I come in Georgia. I come in there soon. I know you get me out today. I gotta take care of something. I gotta take care of something, and it's important. I've pushed it. I gotta take care of it. I give myself a time frame that I need to take care of it, and so I will. I will have to take care of it. I'll be back though. Again, maybe I'll pass the what information that I get. I will pass it to simple with. Those of you who got my contacts, hit me up. You can get me there. But Facebook, man, I need to do something. Just so you know. But I'll be back. God's willing, I will be back very, 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 very soon. Let's enjoy the weekend. Let's stay out of trouble. Be safe. Thanks for all you do. Thank you for your support of SKTV. Thank you, and thank you. Even in our disagreements, thank you. Thank you so much. You have been good to SKTV. Our followers, our viewers, our listeners. Sometimes we disagree. Even other political parties and other political leaders that feel somehow about us. We want you to know that we're doing it for the best of our country. We love you. God's willing, we'll be back. We'll be back very, very soon.